didn't tell me this was going to be a therapy session. I should have known when you sat us on the couch.
Question not. We have Jay, Matthew, and Shelby here that'll be facilitating as well and can read off the chat questions.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
This is like Omega.
So right now we only have about like 2 people.
Yeah.
It's like we're a boy band.
We are a boy too. This is the origin story.
Do you have any questions you want to ask?
Milk Sonic.
Do you have any questions that you want us to ask you by chance?
Milk Sonic. I'm stuck on Milk Sonic. Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Do you have questions that you want us to ask you?
Hey, can you ask me why am I so sexy?
Okay.
And say it with your chest.
You don't have to do it.
Emotion.
I'm giving you a choice.
Or you're gonna let
No, it's gonna come. Surprise. You won't even know.
That's what. Oh, sorry.
Alright, are we ready? Okay.
Hi, Zoom.
Alright, welcome to the Q&A, everybody. We have our headliners here to answer some of your guys' questions. First, we'll start with, how did your family feel about you becoming an artist? Anyone can start. Starting off hot.
Shoot. I feel like it kind of followed along like that usual arc when it's like you're young and they encourage you to do a lot of creative things, whether it's singing or like participating, anything that just was like an extracurricular, you know. And then later on, I feel like the encouragement was kind of like not as present. And I started making music when I was 17. When I was 17, but at that point, I didn't tell my family. And I went to school, I went to college, and I started performing. I started writing more. I think I started pursuing it professionally like 2015, 2016. And at that point, like my family didn't really know that I was making music so heavily alongside school. And then at a certain point, it was just kind of like I couldn't not, because eventually just questions came and it's like they're asking you what you want to do, and you kind of blow it off. But eventually I just couldn't like handle that anymore, and I feel like I just need to speak my truth. And I feel like they appreciated the honesty, but they're still kind of like on me, you know what I mean? Especially the more the years go by. But it's just always just being transparent with what you want to do, and hoping that they accept that, and hoping that there's like a healthy space there between my family and I. Yeah.
This is a big question. I guess my family never really saw it as like a career, but they were never gonna stop supporting me. Doing it as like just a hobby or for fun, and I'll like do a show here and there, and they'll come out to support, and they'll tell me if I did good or if I could work on something, and it's really cool. But leaving college to pursue first acting and then music, it was kind of tough, just because of the college stigma. This is what you have to do to be successful. But they really, I don't know, they're my parents, right? And I feel lucky to have the parents that I have, because their reaction was more like, I wish you told us sooner so we didn't spend all that money. Parents would let me do what I wanted to do if I showed them that I could, go 100%, be independent. I don't have to ask for anything from them anymore, and I think that's what makes them happy, as long as I'm doing what I want and able to be independent of it. There's a huge pressure though. I mean, my family comes from like a history of record deals, and it's, so when you do get into it full time, it's like, okay, now my relatives are like on me all the time. They're like, okay, like I wasn't that good, or this part. There's always just stuff to nitpick from, and it was kind of hard because they're my family. But I am happy with the family that I have. Feel lucky.
I've gotten this question a bunch because it's a common topic, with families. I guess Asian families, Filipino families. So it's kind of a hard kind of revelation when you choose that path. With that said, I'm very privileged when I get asked this question because my dad was a graphic designer and a musician in college. So, like every other parent, they want you to follow in their footsteps. So I basically did that. So I'm very lucky in that it was like they were always supportive in that sense. So I'm really happy that I have that. But yeah, they've been really supportive, and they've always, I think it's even with when people who have parents who have a pushback against it. At the end of the day, parents always just want to make sure that you can sustain yourself, and that then they can leave you and know that you're going to be able to take care of yourself. And a lot of times, that's the most important part. Like we've been just saying, like if you could show them that you can be autonomous and do what you want to do, then they're really supportive. So, in my case, it's the same thing. Even though they've always been supportive, the main thing was always just like, okay, just make sure that you can still take care of yourself.
So a question from the chat is, how do y'all overcome creative blocks? If you get any.
I mean, I kind of just consider it part of the process. Sometimes I wear a lot of hats. When I started making music, like I was considering myself like a recording artist and someone who was learning mix engineering, mastering, and stuff like that. And then producer. I started producing maybe 3 years ago, so I'm really new at that. And it's just seasons. Like lately, I haven't really been making a lot of beats because I've been finishing a lot of things, and I could feel kind of like the difficulty when I try to get back on it. Yeah, I think I just try to practice a certain sense of discipline, and also treating things. Being an artist is like a lifestyle. So a lot of things, it's actually work, like nourishing yourself, feeding yourself. That's creative work. Listening to music, sample digging, listening to other music to learn. That's creative work, and that's productive. And so I kind of have that kind of mindset when it comes to the things that I do. It's not always going to be like I have a creative block because I can't write, or I have a creative block because I can't produce anything right now. I think there's a lot of ways to nourish your creative well and to pour into it.
That was good. Yeah, I think it's really consistency and a lot of passion. You really have to love what you do. If there's a part that you don't love it, either change it up or learn to love it. Because you get creative blocks a lot of times because you're fatigued, or maybe you've just been obsessed on working on one thing, and you're just married to just one idea, when you could really be just living life, expanding your perspectives on things, just let go of the idea. And if it comes back to you, then okay, that was what you should have done. And if it doesn't, then hey, there's a lot of new ideas to come if you just let go of the one you're stuck on. But yeah, doing it every day also, and staying healthy, it takes a lot out of you, and you really are probably blocked creatively because I don't know, you're just not taking care of yourself. It really does affect that if one, you're hating it, or two, you're stuck because you're kind of too attached to something. That's what's helped me, just free up space in my brain, or even just try something new. I mean, I never thought that I would be engineering, producing my own songs. I just picked up a guitar for a long time, and then when I found out that new world, I've been busy every single day for the past 4 years. It's insane. So.
Yeah, definitely. this is a topic again that I've also like thought out about a lot because it's, and for me I go between the world of graphic design and visual art and then also music. So creative blocks happen all over that space. For me, I feel like it's a lot of two things: balance and self-awareness. Actually, and the third thing also to add on to what Vincent said was consistency. So to break that down, like the balance thing is you have to kind of understand like sometimes the balance is you have to make sure that you're honest about your energy and like when you're being honest about burnout because sometimes you could be working on something and like maybe do like 50 takes and there has to be a point where you realize okay like this is as far as I can take it today and having that that discipline to know like okay I have to take a break for today and let it slide because then it gets to a certain point where you're not going to make any more progress on it. You got to give yourself that space, and sometimes it really is just because you're drained and like you need to refill your well. And sometimes you just need to switch up. A lot of times, you can go for a walk. You can do something else. The thing as artists is like we take our life experiences and we turn it into art. All of that is what we draw from. That's where your creativity comes from. And so if you're just working all the time, you're not living your life and experiencing stuff that becomes your well, right? So you gotta go do that. So that's why sometimes it's like, if you're working all the time and you have friends that are asking to go out, don't be like, no, I gotta work. Yes, you gotta be, but at some point you have to remember that you have to give yourself that time to live life so that it can go back into your art. And I think that's one thing that I really appreciate. And it's kind of corny, but one thing that really I love how it was phrased was sometimes you can't reach a breakthrough without first taking a break. And I use that a lot. Like sometimes if I'm just frustrated about something and it's not turning out how I want it to, like you just need to get fresh eyes on it. It's like I always think of like when you see a painter painting and they're like so focused on it and then sometimes they stop and they step back and they see the whole thing. That's exactly what you got to do because if you're so focused, you can get tunnel vision. And that could be the block. You're just not allowing yourself to see it from that perspective. So that goes in hand in hand. It's like the same thing. It's like either you're taking a step back and seeing it from a new light, or you're just taking a break and coming back with fresh eyes and also with fresh energy. So all of those things. It's a balance of all those things and finding the right way to make sure that it refuels you.
Thank you. I feel like regardless if you want to go into the creative space, you guys all kind of mentioned self-awareness and taking care of yourself, which I think is important for growth in any field.
Mental health all the way.
Yeah, exactly.
So y'all didn't tell me this was going to be a therapy session. I should have known when you sat us on the couch. What's happening? I think we got really emotional in our sets, and they were just like, we need to talk to them. Are they okay? This is their check-in.
Care about us.
One of the viewers put laughing emojis.
Yes.
That's actually a good segue because the viewer had said, "Hi, it was so nice to be able to watch you all perform, and I was so inspired. I'm really interested in going into the music business. Do you have any advice on how to work your way up in the industry?"
Do everything for free. Like
Starting out.
Yeah, like really just you gotta say yes to everything. Get out your comfort zone. You'll never work your way up if you don't put yourself out there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good you are, because no one started out amazing.
Right.
So that's like the very first step is you gotta just like have the right mindset to go into it. Because that's just like a big question, like what's some advice that I can work my way up in the music industry? Well, you got to start with yourself. You want to talk about how has life affected you, and how can that be relatable to other people. I think working your way up the music industry is kind of a broad question. Like you could like definitely intern at a studio somewhere. I don't know, there's not too many, but that's a way to do it. Really going to these shows, meeting the artists like after the
Studying
show.
and networking.
Yeah, network. Yeah, this is a big thing. How you move up is getting to know people, building relationships, not really with the goal of I'm doing this to work my way up. Like you just want to build a relationship, man. You know,
Do what you're doing right now. Go to Q&As with artists that you want to ask
Yeah.
questions with, and if you have that avenue to ask them, that's a great place to start.
yeah.
Because like for me, like I mean, we live in an age where you can slide into DMs, and sometimes they respond, you know, and you never know if they'll respond. And if they don't, you could look up their behind-the-scenes videos on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I met this guy at his open mic. I found him when I was in middle school, and I subscribed to him. I was like, holy crap, that guy's good. And then he had, open mic like 7 years later.
now we're friends.
Yeah, we're friends, and now we get to do these things.
When he told me he watched me on YouTube, I was like, what are you talking about? No one watched me. I was like, you.
I mean, this is my first headlining show.
Yeah.
And it's really, yeah.
Oh,
thank
I
you.
love all of the people in Zoom clapping. Yeah.
Thank you.
I see y'all. I
Bless
see y'all.
y'all.
Hey, yo.
Yeah, I've been performing shows with Brian a lot. I did a show with Rudy last year in August. And so you just...
He's a great person to ask this question because I've seen him go from you in the chat to who he is now.
Thanks. Yeah, you just really do what you
Cool.
love.
That's
And
Yeah.
do it because you love it.
Yes.
And
Be relentless.
you're gonna want to meet the people who feel like you can connect with, because it's kind of hard to do this at that level that sounds like you want to do it at. It gets lonely sometimes, and like sometimes like the only people you have to talk to are the ones you work with.
The artists.
Yeah, and I'm lucky that I'm doing these shows with like some dope artists who really have my best interest, in their minds. They'll always help me out. And I think that's just because, put myself out there as someone who's always willing to learn.
It's so important to make sure that you're really doing it for the love, because like there's gonna be days where it's gonna be hard. You're gonna have to accept that there's gonna be some times where you're really struggling because it doesn't pay the bills. Until you get to a point where you are able to sustain yourself with it. And so all of the hardship, all of those things that are going to come along with it, all of the things that are going to pressure you and push you against the wall are going to happen, and those are going to be tests to affirm that thing that you said at the beginning, that this is what I want to do and I love it. And you're going to be tested every day to prove that is true. And so if you make sure that if you really look inward and say, this is what I want to do, and I really have this message I want to put out, and know that those things are going to come, that's what's going to get you through it. Because some days you're just going to be like, I don't want to do this is for me. And then you have a really cool experience, or you perform at a place and someone walks up to you and says something really nice, and it's like, that was worth everything, So I think intention is really important, and knowing that it's going to be a hard road, but if you're down for it, it's going to reward you for sure.
All right, thank you. The next question, how has y'all identity as Pilipinx affect the way you guys write music?
I mean, it's your identity, it's your body, it's like your whole being, your experience. And for me, like, I guess the way I write my music, like, it's pretty autobiographical. And I just like to outline my experiences and reflect on it, and inevitably you discover a lot of things about yourself through the music too. When it comes to being like in the entertainment industry, in the music industry as a Filipinx American artist, it can be difficult, but there's a lot of community out here, man. There's so many amazing artists that I respect, that I've come across over the years. And we just have to uplift everybody, don't burn bridges, and find the people that just be part of the greater mission, like someone like Ruby Ibarra, like she's just taking everything to like another level. And I've seen her growth. It's her birthday today too. I've seen her. I see. Yeah, I've seen her growth, and she put me onto a lot of opportunities actually, and she put me onto Wishbus actually. She couldn't make it, so she recommended me.
There you go.
So that right there, you know, and I'm just being grateful, you know, just being grateful. And I feel like when it comes to like, let's just say the broader scope of like Asian representation, like it's great, you know, it's great that we were pushing for that. But why, you know, let's not stop at just like, okay, we put our foot through the door. What do we have to say about it? You know, what do we have to say about ourselves? In turn, becoming like a mirror to like what we see in the world. You know what I mean? So just keep pushing the envelope and just keep staying open to the possibilities of like where you will be, where your story will take you, and also being protective of that. You know, protect your story, protect your narrative, and just constantly speak your truth, and it's gonna spread.
Yeah, I totally vibe with that. Like, I think for me, like, representation has been a huge thing that I've been really focused on a lot lately. You know, I've been really inspired by a lot of media coming out of the Philippines. You know, for me, I'm not only just Filipino, I'm also a queer artist too. So there's that other layer of representation too. And like, as a queer Filipino artist, like, there's like, that's like a double whammy of like needing representation. You know, and so like, for me, like, I fell into songwriting because I was sad and I needed an outlet. But when I started to share my music, I found the power of like being vulnerable and how like being just sharing your truth can really inspire people. And like if that is what you connect with people, like that can break down doors, because it's like someone could find your music and just listen to your music and judge off music, and then find out you're a queer artist, and then find out you're an R&B artist, and then all of a sudden they're relating to someone they didn't realize they can relate to. And I feel like that's so powerful for me. And so as an artist, talking about how to approach my music, I think just being super authentic of who I am and what I've gone through, and showing that outwardly, like, is so important, because then it results in people discovering who we are as people who, you know, and I think that vulnerability is so important, because when you break things down to an emotional core, like, everyone realizes you can relate to anything. You know, it doesn't. The fact that we're different doesn't also shows that there's a through line for all of us. You know, and so I think that's always, I've always led with just being vulnerable, because it helps not only yourself be seen, but then people who resonate with you feel seen through you. And then, you know, if you are seen, then we as a community are seen, and it builds that representation. And you know, also too, as an artist, I want to make sure that representation is out there, because, you know, I know how much those communities need that representation. And so if I have the opportunity to be that for them, I'd love to. And only the best way I can do that, I know, is by being myself and showing that. Yeah.
I guess, yeah, I mean, my identity is just who I am, you know, everything I go through. And I mean, I've only hung out with like Filipino people, so I mean, everything, you know, that we do, like hoard everything, you know, all that stuff, you know, being late, like, all the time. I thought that stuff was normal, you know, everyone ate chicken this way, you know.
With rice.
Yeah, everyone had rice, you know. It wasn't really until I, you know, had like different friends and going over to like their houses to see like where cultural differences like really have like their lines, you know, and it was really just like, oh, I don't have to take my shoes off in your house or whatever.
What about the carpet?
Yeah. And then, you know, I guess I had no real connection to like my roots, as like, you know, I mean, I can't speak Tagalog or understand Tagalog, and you know, everyone's tried, yeah, and you know, so I have gotten, you know, more knowledgeable about like our history and all that, just from like friends who've really
dived deeper into that, you know, like Kyle, I always get like history lessons from my friends, and it's really good to know. And so I was so disconnected that, you know, having like a dream of being an artist just didn't seem like a reality at all until I saw people who like looked like me, like you know, like AJ Raphael, Jeremy Passion.
I picked up a guitar because of Jeremy.
Yeah, and those guys, like, you know, really showed me that if you just practice and work hard and, you know, do what you want to do, you know, stop thinking about it, just do it, then you can do anything you want, and it doesn't matter what you look like. Matter of fact, like, it'll build a community of people who look like you, put on other people, you know, who have that same dream. You know, so now, you know, we can see someone who looks like us, you know, going all the way to the top, and now everyone is like, oh, it's possible for everyone, it's possible for everyone, so let's push this person. And I feel like that's where we are now, and that's what I've discovered, is that, you know, the whole Filipinx community is like the one community that's just gonna put me on because they love me for being me.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to feel okay with that at, like, you know, another venue or another show, or even like, you know, like a city festival, like 626 Night Market. It's gonna be fun. It's surely not going to be as fun as, you know, an Akbayan show. People go wild. So I'm glad that I'm getting more connected with my roots and, you know, I'm able to represent.
So I don't want to go to a workshop. Hit us up.
I got you.
So y'all mentioned like Jeremy Passion and AJ Raphael, and even covered Gabe Bunduk's song Outside. Do you have like an inspiration? Like, it could be either an artist or someone in your life who's your biggest inspiration. And along with that, is there an artist that you would like love to collaborate with?
I said it already. So Jeremy Passion, he, like, when I was in middle school, and this is gonna date me. This is gonna give me an age. I was on MySpace. She said, "Oh." Someone had his So Sick cover. Someone had his So Sick cover on their profile. I was like, "What's this? This is tight." And then I found he had a MySpace profile with his music. For all the youngins back then, music artists had a MySpace profile, and you could make a MySpace music profile. Anyways, I discovered his music, and I was like, whoa, there's this Filipino dude from San Francisco who's killing it. Like I could do that, you know? And like, I started to get to know his music, and I fell in love with songwriting. And then I just want to be him. and I just want to do what he's doing because he showed me that I can do it. Which goes back to the previous questions of like, how powerful just the simple idea that someone looks like you and is doing what you want to do, and is proof that it's possible. Like, that's so important. So he was that for me. And then second part of that question, I would love, well, obviously it would be cool to collab with Jeremy, but if I had to choose, I would also love to collab with her. She's also killing it and representing for the Filipinos out there too, so she's amazing.
Inspirations. I mean, my favorite rapper is Nas, or he's one of my favorite artists. I consider myself, like, aside from being like a recording artist, I consider myself like a writer. I just love to write, to be honest. And it's just that, like, with hip hop and singing stuff, that was kind of like the medium that kind of took over me, and that was like the vehicle to like expressing myself. So that's kind of like, I feel like the cloth that like I try to like chase, you know. I'd love to collab with so many people. I think like I like to bend genres a lot. I look up to people like Prince or like David Bowie, you know, Frank Ocean, Lord. I just like, I'm very curious as an artist. And I just want to like be in spaces that are curious and like explorative. And what was the second question?
I think you got them.
Yeah,
Who you look up to and who you want to collab with.
Oh yeah.
and you know, people within the community too. And you might see some soon.
Yeah.
You might see some soon.
Yeah. I'm inspired by a lot of people. I have a lot of favorite artists, or just like a lot of artists I pull from. Brian Setzer, my favorite guitar player. Let's see, Bruno Mars, New Edition, Babyface. Let's see, who else? There's just a lot of people. It's just a ridiculous amount of people. Anything playing on 98.1, 96.5, anything on the 1950s classic playlist on Spotify. It's great. I guess a big inspiration for just why I do music is my grandparents. When my grandpa fell in love with my grandpa, he gave up a record deal to be with her and moved to the U.S. Because my grandpa had, was rich. His family was rich, and then my grandma was like a maid, and they just didn't like accept her, and he was just gonna win this like record deal on this TV show, and then they're like, okay, yeah, you're gonna do this, and you leave her, and then he was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I don't need this record deal, so I'm gonna, because without that,
chose love.
yeah.
Like I said to you.
Right?
Yeah, for real.
I've been watching a lot of dramas, so that spoke to my soul.
So without him giving up that dream, I don't think I'd be here. And he was good. He used to just like sing to me and play guitar when I was like 4 or 5, and that's like my last memories of him, and it was really great. I've been singing a song on a CD in my car, and my grandma misses him, and so I just play it a lot, and I miss him too, so I want to complete that dream for him and for myself, for my grandma. I want to show her that I can do something. And then if I can collab with anybody, at least right now, like alive, right? Yeah. It's me, your son, Bruno. I'm waiting.
He said, "Come meet your son."
You guys don't understand, like when I first met him, he was on this Bruno Mars trip, and everyone said he looked like his look is different now, but like he was like young Bruno, like his whole getup was like young Bruno.
It was cool. I still get it. Today. People were commenting today all over my social media, and just like, this guy looks like Bruno Mars. I was like, okay. So I've just been telling people I'm Bruno Earth. If I could collab with another person, though, it would be Twee.
Oh.
Twee is dope. I just did a verse to her song Universe, and she like commented on it. Yeah, word. Oh my God, please, I want to be on the remix, please. But yeah, she saw it, so yeah, if I can work with her, that'd be
There you
tight.
go. You got the foot in though.
Yeah, go tag her in the comments.
See what he said earlier about putting yourself out there and what happens. Okay.
It happened.
Invite her to the Zoom meeting right
There you
now.
go. Drop the link right now. Can I have everyone in the Zoom chat just slide into her DMs at once? You will notice.
Alright, for this next question, it's going to get a little deep.
Y'all started from the first one.
Okay, so this question, do you ever find it difficult to be vulnerable in your music? You guys all mentioned that a lot of your music really comes from your heart, and like Rudy said, he does like a lot of autobiographies for his songs. So have you ever been writing and been like, oh man, do I really want to put this out there? Or like, nah, maybe I should chill out on that.
I don't think I ever chill out on that.
You know what's crazy? Honestly, one of my favorite things about songwriting is like, at least for me, I speak for myself, like it was like a lot of times when I start writing a song, it's not for anybody, it's for me because I'm sad and I need to get it off my chest. Like that's why I don't hold back, because I'm just like, it's not even me like thinking like, oh, this is gonna be fire, I'm gonna perform this. Like no, I'm just like, I need to get what I'm feeling into words or into some kind of package. You know, like there's like I could either like write a whole long like blog post to vent my emotions, or I could pick up my guitar. And that's actually happened where I was like, couldn't go to sleep one time, and I was gonna go across the room and like write a whole rant on Tumblr, and then I picked up my guitar instead, you know. And so I feel like that's it's all in terms of writing the music. Yeah, I think when it comes to sharing it, like there's the fear of vulnerability is like I have this really personal thing that I wrote, and now I'm gonna get up on stage and read my diary to everyone. That's the scary, vulnerable part. But in the writing process, it's like, no, I need to get everything off my chest.
Yeah. Right. I feel like if you don't, then it kind of feels wrong.
Yeah, you just don't like the song.
Yeah, you're just like, yeah, you know, it's gonna be weaker.
Yeah.
Because you changed it
Right.
to something weaker because you're too afraid to be vulnerable. Like, I mean, I had gone through like a bad relationship thing.
Haven't we all?
Yeah. The end of like last year, and so you know, I had to write a song, and then like legit, like halfway through it, I was like, yo, I don't know if I'm writing myself as the bad guy. Is this what happened? And I was like, okay, maybe I'm not the bad guy. But then, you know, like trying to like rework that, like that's not the truth though. Like, you know, I was not the best. You know, like, so I have to be honest with myself. You know, otherwise, what did I learn? You know, I didn't learn anything from me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just here writing a fake song, trying to tell myself I'm okay now.
You feel disconnected too.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's really, or at least for me, the songwriting process is how I process, you know,
Yeah.
that emotion or situation, because otherwise it's just gonna be stuck in my head forever and ever and ever and ever.
Because that's the thing. That's what you could easily just write anything, and no one will know that it's not correct because they don't know your life.
Yeah.
You know? But I think it's the feeling of like, how can I outwardly sing this and perform this when I know it's not my truth, you know? And I think also for me, there's another layer of vulnerability was that I like spent like the last decade writing music about my life and my sexuality, and I only started releasing it 2 years ago because I finally came out to my family. And so that for me, there's that unique. Of course, fear of vulnerability because I can't go out. Like I had songs that I could, that they were just like general neutral pronouns, you know, or situations. But like I have music that's like really specific about my experiences as a queer artist and person that I was only able to like perform when I got invited to like do like an LGBTQ show or something like that or a queer space. And so that was something I had to get over, you know, and yeah. It can be scary, but I think, I mean, I would love to hear what Rudy has to say, but, you know, I think it seems, at least me and Vince agree that, you know, the vulnerability it's not necessarily hard because that's how we cope, but yeah, it can be hard to share it later.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree to like almost all those sentiments. I don't really regret anything I did, to be honest. Once it's there, it's like sacred, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think publicizing it is a different thing.
Right.
Obviously, there are some tangible things like relationships. Let's say like you are accountable for what you share if it regards someone else, and
That's true.
and if they know that, if they hear it, then that's what you're accountable for with that person, you know. So in that sense, yeah, it's proven a little like tricky sometimes.
That's
you
true,
know,
because it's tea.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, with music,
Yeah.
with music, it's really emotional too, and I think like as an artist or as like, it's so hard because it's been so long since I've been like just like a listener, but like maybe as a listener, it might be hard to hear things that an artist says, but sometimes what we write or what we make is kind of like in the moment, you know what I mean? And it's not so much like a singular thought or like that's how I feel about everything, or like there's like some sort of like ultimatum or like a singular, like one-dimensional kind of, I don't know, energy regarding that topic or theme. Sometimes I've had some trouble with like people maybe like feeling a certain way because maybe I have some strong words about maybe myself or maybe them or us or a situation, but that's really just me like just really releasing, you know, music is cathartic. But yeah, I think on behind the scenes, personal level, like yeah, you're accountable for some of the things that you say, put out there. I'll say with like mental health and stuff, I feel like a lot of my music encompasses that. You know, it could be, it could be triggering. I talk about like some hard stuff. I detail some things that have happened to me, or I kind of I'm expressing some things I think about myself in that very moment that are really hard, or like very it's just heavy, it's heavy. But the way I think about that is that when I was just a listener before I started ever creating anything, like I felt so voiceless, and I felt like no one could relate to me, you know what I mean? No one could relate to me, and so that made things worse, It's like you feel alone, but eventually like you hear some of these people, and some of these people might be your heroes, but then they're talking about, I see no changes. I wake up in the morning and I ask myself, is life worth living? Should I blast myself? I'm like, yo, why does he feel like that? And through listening there, you can, obviously that experience with Pac is obviously different from mine, but there's that common theme, and with that you resonate, and it transforms you. It makes you look into someone else's life and perceive that, and then also makes you look into your life, all the while making you feel less lonely, because wow, like someone actually has that dark thought too. It's not so much like just a me thing, or like I'm just alone in all of this. So I hope, intention and impact is different, but like I hope with my intention that like when I express some of the harder things in my music, it's really because like when I was younger, I would listen to that stuff because it made me, in a way, it made me feel better. Like it made me feel like I was in community with somebody or people, yeah, and it's hard being vulnerable. It's always gonna be a challenge. It's always gonna be a challenge, but
So rewarding.
yeah, it's just rewarding for yourself. It's just yeah.
And that was one thing that was crazy, that I also, one thing I love about music is that same feeling that like it makes you feel like you're not alone. Like me, for the longest time before, like what he said too, before I started writing my own music, like music has always been a haven for me, because I could always find a song that I could relate to and made me feel like, oh, this is tight, like I have something that's validating my experience. And like when I realized that I could write a song and be that for someone else, I was like, okay, that's it. I want to do this forever, and I think that's what's crazy too. It's like when you think about your favorite artist who wrote a song that you really relate to, it's like, yo, like Adele really sat in her room and felt exactly how I feel when I go to sleep, or Bruno Mars like was sitting in his room writing this in his notebook, feeling how I feel sitting in my bed, and thinking of it that way, it's like I already like had a strong connection with these artists, but when you think that they had those personal moments with themselves and it became that song, like that's so powerful. And like to know that as an artist I could do that, like, oh, I fell in love with it, because I knew how much music saved me, and so it's like it's crazy to think that someone could listen to one of my songs and experience that too.
Yeah, I'm only here, like literally, like I'm only here today because like I was saved by like the thing that I love, and I mean, just like along the way too. But like there are a lot of moments in life where it feels like that's it, like this is the end, or you feel like the world is ending, and you're never gonna get over this. Like whether it's like losing family or losing friends, there's always a song that I can blast in my headphones and just cry,
Hey Siri, play it down.
in the rain, in the shower, when I
stuck in traffic.
When I locked myself in my room for like a week because my friend had passed away or whatever, there was a song, and I don't think that I could have connected to like those songs if they weren't that vulnerable, because like I was really feeling like this is it, so for there to be music to every moment and to be able to create music that people can resonate to in those moments, it's like our job to be as vulnerable as possible.
I love the perspective and all the points we went across, because if you look back at the version of himself that he mentioned that was just a listener, that felt like no one understood, and then he found something that he related to, that moment of breakthrough, realizing you're not alone, it took another artist being vulnerable to unlock that for you. And so, you know, as an artist, you have to, it's good to have that perspective. It's just like, I'm scared to be vulnerable right now, but like, imagine what me putting this out there can do for people that I don't even know is happening to, you know? So I think that's an important thing to recognize. And I feel like if I did ever have any resistance to being vulnerable, keeping that in mind and keeping in mind how much of an impact you could have, even in ways that you don't see, it'll be like, heck yeah, I'm gonna put myself out there, because you never know how it could help someone. How we could create a Rudy Kalma, how could they, Vincent, you know, like, and Vincent, you know, so, yeah. This is the Fires podcast.
Or
We can sell this as like a masterclass.
for our last question, almost in two parts, but one is, what is your go-to boba order if you have one? And a lot of people notice your styles, so I just want to know, like, what makes you so sexy?
Chef's kiss. Wow.
Left them stunned. Especially this.
I'm shook.
I don't know where.
Wait, what was the two parts?
Sorry. If you have a go-to boba order.
Oh yeah.
I
I heard the first question and I just forgot everything after the second one. I was like, what?
Shoot, I mean, I don't really drink a lot of boba, to be honest. Like, I can give you my coffee order.
Oh, sure.
Hey.
You know, if I feel like I gotta do a lot of things, I'll take like a cold brew.
There you go.
You know,
Natural or regular?
if I feel edgy, like I'll just take it black.
Okay.
But then it's like oat milk, vanilla, or
Okay.
like lavender, or whatever it's in season. You know what I mean? Lavender goes crazy.
I can make lavender simple soup.
Yeah, but you know what? I got put onto dirty matcha lattes, so like with espresso in it, it's kind of different. You know, you taste the espresso for sure, but it's different. I
Is it
like
the espresso that makes it quote unquote dirty?
Yeah, that's
it
fine
is.
dirty. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Rudy, you didn't
Not me
answer
taking
Oh, my
that.
second question, yeah, I've been dodging that.
Don't think you did not shy away from that answer.
You know,
He said, I don't know.
Trying to get away with that one.
well, I say this, you know, just be open, you know, just be yourself, and you're gonna attract that. Don't trip, like don't take things personal. That's a big lesson for me, not to take a lot of things personally, and just live life. There's so many things meant for you, so many great things meant for everybody in this space. Like, yeah, it's exciting. Be excited about things.
I like how you reframe that, because that makes it easier for me to answer it. Like, it's not so much what makes you sexy. I mean, yeah, but it's like what do you feel is something about yourself that could lead to someone feeling drawn to you, right?
I have media training, I have PR training.
Let's go.
I can just shift it. You
I was
know.
like, okay, spin, let's go. I guess so. Going off of that, I think people. Wow, I'm tired. People like are really good at sussing people out. People are good at vibes and feeling them, and I think if you just put yourself out genuinely, like people like feel it. Like you meet someone and you're like, you just know, like, I like them because they're just like unapologetically themselves. So I feel like for me, like ever since I came out, I've just been like 110% myself, because like I couldn't be that for a long time. And I think I've changed a lot because I don't hold back anymore, and I've seen how it draws people to me in different ways now because I'm more open, and I think that's important. And I think, you know, they say confidence is sexy, so you know, I guess I would say that's an answer. You know, just being genuine and being yourself and being unapologetically yourself is very important.
boba or
I like jasmine milk tea with crystal boba.
They got different types of boba.
Yeah.
See what I like about, so I would always go between honey boba and then aloe, but then I found crystal boba. It's like both. It's like it has the texture of aloe, but then it's a little bit chewier, so you get that boba flavor. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because sometimes it's like a hit or miss with some places. Like the boba is either too chewy or like overcooked, and usually with crystal boba you can't go wrong. It's the same consistency.
It's like talking about like new technology. Like, yeah, this is the
Tesla boba. It's him asking. There's different kinds. Like, yo, they got popping boba, man. They got.
They got green boba.
I was gonna say they green boba.
During Christmas is red and green.
Okay. That's just food coloring though.
What's my boba order?
Thai tea.
I used to work at I used to work at a boba shop. And so yeah, I guess before that I used to come in every weekend and make myself a Thai. Yeah, I would come in, make myself the Thai tea. And then just.
He said, I don't only have an order, I make it myself. Okay. Maybe that's what makes you sexy.
extra sweet.
5 ounces.
No, 5 ounces.
Or let's see, or hazelnut milk tea, no pearl from Quickly.
Okay.
The OG.
The OG. Yeah. You feel me? Let's see. I don't drink boba too often, so maybe once in a while I'll have that, and that's it. You gotta stay healthy. Also, boba is expensive. Knowing from working in a boba shop, charging $7 a cup is ridiculous. Why am I so sexy?
It's the breathing for me. The breathing through the teeth. He said, shit.
Because I worked so hard to get here.
Okay.
I woke up every day, looked at myself in the mirror and said, you are not good looking enough. We gotta change one thing about you every single day until we get there.
Okay.
Nah.
There you go.
You know, I think, okay, well, why are you so sexy? I guess it's why you're so, like, confident.
Mm-hmm.
Why you so, I feel like sexy is, like, attractive from confidence, believe in yourself, really feel yourself. Wake up, your style, love the clothes you put on. Even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else, it doesn't matter, I always got made fun of in school for just, like, wearing a Thriller jacket.
You had a Thriller jacket?
Yeah, a Thriller jacket. Should be so cool nowadays. But
I am so upset with people who thought that was whack.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what?
Like I had hand-me-downs, like my dad's clothes, but they were all like clothes from the 90s. So it was cool.
Literally, you're
They're
like
like $80 now.
Yeah, no, they're hella expensive now. Like these sweats are probably like ridiculous amount. I got them for like $15. Champion.
They're champion sweats. I can't see that.
Yeah, just do not do anything for anyone else.
But just
Accept yourself. Buy the shoes you want. Cut your hair the way you want it.
I'm just hyping you up because I agree.
Walk the way you want to walk.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, it's everything you want to do. Do it because you feel it's cool.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so sexy because.
I've seen that. Like, I've seen people say like, I don't understand that guy, but you know what? He's tight. I don't understand why he does this, but he's doing him, and that's cool. That's how you just gotta roll.
Nothing matters.
Right.
And you're gonna regret not doing what you wanted because you were afraid of what other people would think.
Mm-hmm.
And
live the life for yourself.
yeah, you're happier that way. Going back to the very first question, no creative blocks that way. Probably because, you're you're trying to please other people,
Oh, that's true.
please yourself first. You know?
That could be a big source of a creative block because you have an
Yeah.
inner conflict of what you want to put out there.
Because when you believe it yourself, it spreads. Like you shine, like you really do.
Look at us tying it all back
I
together
know.
for the last question. Okay.
Alright, well,
Alright guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys hit the bell for notifications.
Subscribe to my only.
Patreon.
well, thank you all for coming.
Thank
you for
you.
performing.
Yay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Alright, everyone on chat. Goodbye, everybody. And till next time.
Thanks for the therapy.